I recently got reminded about a fact from a Ninjago book that was about the Overlord, and it actually said that did you know that the Overlord can take on various physical forms when he wants to, but nobody really knows what he actually looks like, and that question got me thinking about all of the designs of the Overlord. Because we've had a fair handful of them over the course of the show, and all of them are varying in terms of whether or not they are good or whether or not they are bad. I will say for one, I don't think there's a bad Overlord design, but there's definitely some that I do prefer over others. So I thought for today we could take a look at all of the Overlord's designs and rank them from worst to best, and then ask you guys the same question: what is your favourite and least favourite Overlord design? And I've taken into account the 11 designs that we see throughout the course of the show. They are, in my opinion, the main versions that we get of him, and I do think they're the main things that we should be ranking them on. And what am I ranking them on? Well, it's basically just personal preference. The thing about stuff like this is that it's very difficult to determine a criteria, because the criteria for design will differ between each and every single person. So just understand that I am going off of my own personal feelings and my own personal preferences for an Overlord design. And ultimately, if we disagree, that's completely okay. And I want to know what your guys' favourites and least favourites are. All I ask is that everyone does remain civil. So let me not waste any more of your time, and let's rank the Overlord designs. Coming in at 11th place, I am actually going to be giving it to the Golden Master variant that doesn't have any sort of determinable armor. We get to see the cape on his back, but that is basically it. We get to see the red eyes as well, but other than that, it's just a completely matte black design. There is nothing really to go off of when it does come to this. The thing is that it's just not interesting whatsoever. Everything else you can at least point something out when it does come to it. So it is unfortunate that this has to go at the bottom, because I'm not saying that it's bad, it's just that it has absolutely and literally nothing going for it. But it is the basis of one of my personal favourites, spoiler alert. So I thought I had to give it at least something at the very least. And whilst it is at the bottom, it doesn't mean that I think it's completely terrible. I honestly just think it's kind of a product of its time. But honestly, 11th goes to this one. Coming in at number 10 is going to be the virus variant of the Overlord, but more specifically the one that we see on many of the screens. This one I do really like, but again, there's just not really much going for it. It's basically just a flat PNG that pulsates. The thing is though, is that it's really cool. I like the colours, I like the use of the purple with the red, and obviously the little bits of yellow and orange. I think it does go really well. It's just, again, it's another one of those designs where, what can you really say about something like this? It's not exactly like it's the design filled with amazing detail and amazing characteristics. It's just eyes on a screen. But I honestly do still prefer it because at least it has some colour and something going for it, unlike the blank design. So I thought 10 was a fairly good spot for it, and I do think honestly it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. But number 10 is going for this one. Coming in at number 9 is his other variant in terms of being a virus, and this is the more physical version that we actually get to see when the ninja go into the Digiverse. We actually get to see this design, and I really do like this version of him. But the thing is, it is completely conditional. It is completely dependent on the scenario that they're in. Whilst I really think it's cool, it's just very much a product of the episode. And the thing is that every single one beyond this point is at least applicable beyond this very specific setting. So as much as I do like it, I like the tentacles, I like the use of blue. I wasn't really expecting it to be the case, but I'm not mad at it, and I like the pulsating eyes as well. It looks really cool, and I definitely do appreciate what we actually got here. But again, I think it is just hindered by the fact that it's just kind of very specific to the Digiverse, and I don't think that is overly bad. It's just I would pick any of the others beyond this one. But honestly, number 9 is not too bad, so it's gonna go there. Coming in at number 8 is actually going to be one of his spirit forms, and it's going to be the pink variant that we see in the second season. I really like this design. I really like the implications of the design as well. For one, it is the first physical manifestation that we actually get to see of the Overlord of that. I really like the fact that we actually got to see some form of physical incarnation of him before he actually became something more. And the thing is that again, it goes even further. It shows that he's always there. He can be anywhere at once. He's this all-seeing type being. It really does demonstrate the amount of power he truly has, and I really like that fact. But the thing is that again, it's just a case of, it's kind of just one note. It has this form, and that is basically it. There's nothing really more to look at. There's not much more that you can actually observe and actually take in terms of details and stylistic choices. And I do think, again, it's the ultimate thing that brings it down. Spoiler alert, his other spirit manifestation is a little bit better, and you'll understand why in a moment. But the thing is that this one is still really good. I still really like it, and it has beat out a couple of other physical variations. So I'm giving it the credit that I do think it deserves. It's just I don't think it can go any higher than this. But number 8 is a solid spot, so that's why the Season 2 Spirit is going to be going there. But number 7 is the other physical manifestation of a spirit, and this is the black variant that we actually got to see within Crystallized. This one I do prefer a little bit for a very specific reason. It feels like darkness, it feels like a virus, it feels like something that is pure evil incarnate. It feels disgusting to look at, and I love it. And I like how much they actually do with this very simple design. The ball spikes out, it has a load of different variants, it's very malleable, it's very fluid looking, and I really do like that. I think it's very interesting just to observe in the scenes that we actually got to see it in. So I do think it does beat out the initial spirit for that reason. Does it beat out any of the other physical manifestations? Unfortunately not, but I do think this was the best of something that isn't a full foam design when it does come to the Overlord. But I gotta say, if you haven't watched this spirit in action in a long time, I'd recommend you go back and do so, because the more you observe it, the more you realize that there's just something unnatural about it, something uncanny, and I think that is just what I really like about it. Honestly, it would be much higher if the other variants were just simply just not that much better, but honestly, I really like this one, and I definitely do think it needs more credit. Coming in at number 6 is actually going to be the Metamorphosis version of the Overlord. This is the more humanoid, really weird looking version that's a hybrid between him and actually Garmadon. And I will say, I really do like this one, apart from a very specific gripe I have with it. In action, I do think it's really cool, and honestly, was very ambitious when it does come to LEGO. The thing is that Ninjago's animation at this point was a little more on the basic side, so getting something like this is really interesting to see. But the thing is, and the thing that I can't look past, is how every single time the Overlord spoke, he was wildly out of sync with the model. The thing is that it was so difficult to animate because of the nature of what it actually looked like. So because of it, it just feels weirdly out of sync, and it distracts me every single time I see the design. And that is why I can't really put it beyond this point. I think the other designs are better, but this very small little gripe that doesn't overly impact it but still does is really just something I can't look past, and it's something I can't unsee. And I will say this, if you now look back at this version and then just watch it speak, you'll realize that it's very much out of sync, and I just simply can't look past that. So it's gonna get number 6, it's unfortunately missing out on the top 5, but it's because the other 5 are just simply much better and not out of sync. Coming in at number 5 is actually going to be the Centaur version of the Crystal King. This was the final time we've seen the Overlord, and I definitely do really like this design. For some reason, I've always had it in my head that people don't really like this variant, but I'm going to be perfectly honest, I really do. I like the utilization of the color, I like the utilization of the crystals, I like the fact that it feels like he is again something in similar vein to the spirit version of the crystallized version of the Overlord, which is just simply, it feels unnatural. Something about it just feels uncanny, and something just feels off. It feels like something you should be afraid of, which is honestly why I really like this design. Honestly, the Centaur is a really interesting looking thing, and I think that's the best way of describing it. It's just this thing. I can't really describe it beyond that point. I will also say that I really like the set, and I do think the design translated really well to the set, so that is also worth note. But I just really appreciate this look. I think it just suited the Overlord, and I definitely do think they did very well with the design itself. Honestly, all the problems with the more interesting non-Lego-y looking variants I do think were solved with this variant of the Crystal King. So I have to give my hats off to it, and I have to give it the praise that it deserves. But honestly, I'm expecting a lot of people to disagree with this one, but I really don't. I just like everything about this design, and also just can't explain it at the exact same time. So it's getting that credit. Coming in at the number 4 slot, we are going to be looking at the Golden Master, specifically within the mech. This is the more larger version, and the one that is completely shrouded by the cloak. And that's the problem with this design for me. It feels like a lot of the amazing design details that we got to see with the Overlord, or more specifically the Golden Master, were just completely covered up in this moment. You still have, of course, the amazing looking heads, and the amazing looking shoulders, and I do like the mech. It's just, it feels like a lot of the really good stuff that we actually saw is now gone. Spoiler alert for just the regular Golden Master, he is very high up on this list. But the thing is that this one does take a lot of what I like about it and just kind of gets rid of it. The thing is that it's not bad by any account. I still absolutely adore it, and that's why it's at number 4. It's just, I feel like we lost a bit of it when it did become this variant. Honestly, I just don't really care for the overarching cloak that goes around his whole body. The thing is that it makes it look like he's floating, and I do think that's kind of my problem with it. I think it just deserved the detail that we actually got to see a little bit beforehand. So it's going to get number 4, and it's going to get a lot of praise because I do still love it. It's just, man, did the Golden Master variant just before it do a lot better. But yeah, number 4. Number 3, or the bronze medal, is actually going to be going to the dragon form from Season 2. And I think, again, this is going to be where a lot of people do disagree with me. The thing is that I absolutely love this design. I love absolutely everything about it. It was the final villain for the final battle, initially speaking, for Ninjago. How could I not love it? But the thing is that in recent time, there has been one very little thing about it that has definitely been distracting for me. It's just one very specific little thing about it that I just can't look past, and that is the fact that it's a dragon. And with everything that we now know about the Oni and the dragon, I just don't really think this design now works. Now, please understand that I understand that this is a hot take. I understand that people are going to disagree with this, and I do fully understand that people are going to be giving me comments. But the thing is that I just kind of expected the Overlord to look more like an Oni. And obviously Crystallize does this, so I feel like they even acknowledge this themselves. Of course, this is before the Oni and the dragon were established, so I can't really go at them for that. But I do think now when I look back at the fact that it's a dragon, I just can't really look past it, and it feels almost weird to me. As much as I love the design, don't get me wrong, I adore it, I just feel like it now almost doesn't work. And it's a consequence of hindsight, and I understand that fully. It's just when I do look at it, I think that's an amazing design. It's just a shame that it wasn't more Oni-like. And that is why I honestly, to an extent, think that the Centaur is almost a definitive version of him. It's just because it feels like an Oni, it feels like something that you would expect, and I know he's not inherently an Oni, but it still just kind of more works in that favor. So that's why the dragon form is still distracting. But understand, look, it's in number 3, it's the bronze medal, I still love this design, it's just I'm pointing out the story implications. But on a design basis, it's still absolutely fantastic. Please don't grill me in the comments. Number 2 is going to be going to the Crystal King, going specifically to the 4-armed variant that we get to see until he does become the Centaur. And I have to say, I love this Overlord design. In terms of a more minifigure variant of the Overlord, this in my opinion is the closest we have to a definitive version. Obviously, you now know what my number 1 pick is, so you may be disagreeing with this, but I do think this is the most Overlord that the Overlord has felt. I really like this design. I like the utilization of the black, the purples, the almost gold-like features. I think it's the best of everything that we've ever gotten to see. I think it just simply works in context of who the character is. He feels intimidating, he feels harsh, he feels rash, he feels like something that you should be afraid of, and I really like the fact that the design does accomplish this. I just think it works in every single sense of the word, and when we actually got to see it in action, I really do think it did figure itself out quite nicely. I will always think of his fight between him and Wu. I really like that fight, and it feels like this form of the Overlord definitely did utilize what he was doing very well, so I have to give it the credit it deserves and really honor the fact that this does feel the most like the Overlord. So number 2 is a really good spot for it. But of course, there is one that is better. And that is, of course, the Golden Master. And whilst I do maintain that the Crystal King looks the most like the Overlord, I really like this version of the Overlord for being the Golden Master. Of course, it's just a smaller version of the mech version, but this one has all of the amazing designs and details. The torso looks brilliant. Seeing the purple underneath all the gold and how it all wraps around him is absolutely stellar looking. The cape dragging along his back is absolutely amazing as well. I love all of these little aspects, and I do think it accomplishes one of the most intimidating designs we've ever seen. Of course, he also walks with a cane. I do think there's just something inherently aura about that look, and I do think it's really accomplishing what you want. This feels like a villain, this feels like a Golden Master, this feels like someone that should be taking over the land of Ninjago, and I have to really show off the fact that I do think it's the best the Overlord has ever looked, and I do think that is why it is deserving of the number 1 spot. But that is my list of every Overlord design from worst to best. There are some little ones that I could have acknowledged, like the little goopy spirit version of him from Rebooted, but I just didn't really have too much to say about it. So beyond that point, this is how I feel about this list in terms of the Overlord. I do think that the Golden Master is the best he's ever looked, and all of the accompanying designs are somewhere along those lines. But this is, like I said, where I want to pass it off to you guys. What is your favorite version of the Overlord? What is your least favorite version of the Overlord? Is there anything you completely disagree with me on? Because I would like to hear it. Again, like I said, all I ask is that you keep it civil, because it's ultimately just an opinion piece, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see what you all think about the Overlord as well. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people, and if you do want to support the channel any further, which you don't have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends on screen. Thank you to each and every single one of you. You are all absolutely legends, and your support does mean the world for me. And also, one more thing, let me know if there are any other characters that where you'd like to see me rank their individual designs. I've done all the ninja, and now I've done the Overlord, so who is next? But apart from that, like I said, thank you very much for watching, and take care. Okay, bye!